Hey yo, thanks for tuning in to Celeb Source. It's the backup channel backing Celeb up and bringing you all the breaking news. If you've been watching the People vs. Tory Lanez trial, then you know that a number of vloggers have been following the trial day by day and offering you information on what has happened. They have also been offering you commentary that gives their thoughts and opinions on what is going on in the trial. Well, apparently Megan Thee Stallion and her people do not like the way people are reporting the story. And yesterday, NBC dropped a scathing news report which basically condemned all of these vloggers and said they don't have 1, any journalistic integrity, 2, they are biased, and 3, they are misogynistic, which means they are against women, particularly Megan Thee Stallion. The article goes on to say, quote, Megan Thee Stallion isn't on trial. The man charged with shooting her in both feet, the Canadian rapper Tory Lanez, is. But if you consume content from some particular hip-hop bloggers, podcasters, and social media accounts, you might be misled. The outlets are part of a new wave of infotainment where content creators cover consequential events without the expectations of adhering to journalistic standards. In the Lanez trial, at any given moment, a follower might believe Lanez's DNA was conclusively not found on the gun used during the shooting, or that Kylie Jenner kicked Megan out of her house, though there's no evidence to support either idea, end quote. The news article goes on to say that Megan Thee Stallion's people have gone and they have flagged a number of vloggers so that their sites will be taken down so that they can't put out all this garbage about Megan Thee Stallion and they can't talk about the trial. Megan's people say they are also looking into taking legal action against individuals like academics and milagro-grams. Additionally, the article went on to suggest that social media vloggers have showed their bias because they have turned this trial into a Megan Thee Stallion trial instead of focusing on Tory Lanez, who is the alleged shooter. In doing so, they have portrayed Megan Thee Stallion as an angry, black, aggressive woman who is sexually promiscuous and who lies. The author of the article also likened Meg Thee Stallion to Amber Heard and said, a lot of times we put these women on blast, but we don't discuss the men. In response to the article, DJ Academic said, you know what, these news venues are just salty because he's stealing all of their views. Jason Lee from Hip Hop Unlocked also weighed in, and he said his channel is unbiased. However, his opinions are different than the opinions of his channel, and people need to know how to differentiate. Even though Lovely T was not mentioned in the article, Lovely T also weighed in, and she was like, listen, the news venues are shook because the vloggers are taking over the news and media information space. Listen, I don't know about you, but YouTube is like a resource that I use. However, it's not the place that I go to when I want my official news. If I hear that a tornado is coming my way, I don't turn to academics to find out the details about that tornado. You know what I'm saying? I know the difference between academics and CNN. I know the difference between Jason Lee and the BBC. You know what I'm saying? There's a major difference. And there's a difference between news and commentary. What I said before was news. Now I'm giving you commentary. Although I'm not a fan of academics, right? I will defend him here because I would think that most people would know that when he pushed the chick Milagro Grams on the show and she's sitting there with the triple D's hanging out and she's telling you what happened in the trial, and while she's telling you about what happened in the trial, she's cursing, she's talking all types of stuff, she's using the N-word, she's talking about her triple D's, she's putting the boobs into the screen right before she's telling you how good the attorney looks and you need to go check him out because he might be a catch. You know that's not your official news outlet. Or let me say this, I would hope that you would know that's not your official news outlet. While Milagro Grams was very entertaining this week, I mean, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. You know what I'm saying? She's not Walter Cronkite, and she's not trying to be. And we, as the watchers, have to know the difference. Let me give you an undisputed fact. It is a socio-cultural norm that bias exists everywhere, which is why if you are intelligent, you use multiple sources to gather your information. You take a little from here, a little from there, and then you come to your own conclusions. I can't speak for what goes on those other channels, but I do know that the people over here that rocks with celebs and myself are smart enough to know that difference. We know what's up and you know what's up. And let me say this real quick, because as far as people talking about Megan Thee Stallion's promiscuity, when two people are in a room and they have sex, right? It's usually those two people in a room. And if that information gets out, it's because one of those two people in the room spoke, okay? It's not because the vlogger said something. The vlogger wouldn't know about it if you two could keep your mouth shut after you did the dirty tango. And while we're on the subject of the people versus Tory Lanez, you gotta love the fact that part of Tory Lanez's defense is the fact that he's mad short. My man's attorney said during closing arguments, my man was like, Tory is 5'2", and quote, I don't even know if he could get over the door to shoot. End quote. Yo, what is happening in that courtroom? I gotta tell you, I did not know that Tory Lanez was that short. Because now that I'm thinking about it, isn't Megan Thee Stallion like between like 5'11" and like 6'2"? What was she doing letting the little dude bounce on top of her in the first place? And I already know somebody's gonna come in the comments and be like, yo, everybody the same height when they laying down, sis. I already know. To each his own. But listen, while we're talking about the case, a lot of people thought this case was going to be kind of open and shut because the testimony was kind of all over the place. But apparently, the jurors are in the back room and they are really deliberating because they have sent some notes to the judge. The first note, which was sent yesterday at 3:50 p.m., asked the judge to give the jurors a better definition of two terms: willfully and on purpose. The second note said that the jurors wanted to have Sean Kelly's transcript reread to them. Sean Kelly is the witness that was standing on top of the balcony, which was looking down at the whole incident that took place. Now, I'm not a mind reader, so I don't know what 12 other strange people are thinking, but just based on those questions, I can kind of surmise that they are trying to figure out whether the shots that were fired that night were absolutely intentional and aimed specifically at Megan. That's what I get from those questions, but maybe you get something else. Let me know in the comments. But while we're talking about this case and we're talking about people who have an insatiable need to be putting all their stuff out there on the internet, let's talk about your girl, Kylie Jenner. The other day, Kylie posted a whole bunch of new thirst trap pictures of her in her panties, right? And under the picture, she wrote, quote, quiet on the set, end quote. Listen, I don't have time for this chick, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. The whole time the trial was going on, this chick was nowhere to be found. She was dead silent, okay? She was in the cut. All of a sudden now that the case has gone to the jury and she can no longer be called, all of a sudden now she wants to be posting thirst traps online, talking about quiet on the set. Get out of here with that. Listen, if my friend got shot in the foot after they left my house, I would be at the courtroom to support my friend, okay? But that's just me though. Let me know what you think in the comments. Listen, I'm gonna keep it really quick today because I just came from the dentist and I don't know if she hit me with the double dose of Novocaine, but I'm feeling really good and really bad at the same time. And I don't want to give you guys the drug-induced commentary. Listen, you know what I'm talking about, and you know that can go left really quick. Look, over the last few weeks, Young Miami has made a number of comments about possibly ending her show, Carisha Please, because she says that the guests that she interviews cannot handle the smoke. Well, recently she interviewed rapper GHerbo, and she was asking him a lot of personal questions about his love life, which included questions about cheating rumors from 2019, his breakup with Ari, and him first getting with Tana Williams. For example, in the teaser for the episode, Young Miami asked GHerbo, quote, did your two baby mamas get into it? Did you cheat on Ari Fletcher with Tana Williams? Were y'all steady effing? Were you there? Did you ever smoke an op? End quote. Well, when Young Miami put the full court press on him about his relationships, GHerbo flipped the script and put the ball back in her court by asking, quote, "Did you know about Diddy Baby before October?" End quote. After GHerbo asked the question, it seems like Young Miami was the one that didn't want any smoke because she giggled uncomfortably. And after that, GHerbo went on to say, quote, "Getting a little messy, clean it up. Clean up on aisle Carisha." End quote. Listen, how you gonna let somebody come on your show and play you on your show? That's crazy. Listen, really quick, we got some bad news and we got some good news. The bad news is reports are saying that Memphis rapper Big Scar has died at 22. Listen, that is too young to leave this earth, and we want to say rest in peace to Big Scar. We're going to be following the story, and when we get more information, we will share that information with you. But as you know, I'm not Debbie Downer, so I'm not going to leave you with that bad news. I'm going to give you something on the other end of the spectrum. The good news is Wu-Tang Clan is celebrating their 30th year anniversary since they dropped their classic album 36 Chambers. Oh my God, that was one of the greatest hip-hop albums ever dropped, and you can't argue with me on that because that album had cash rules everything around me. Cream, get that money, dollar dollar bill, y'all. Listen, we still saying that till this day. Shout out to Wu-Tang Clan representing the Isle of Staten. Hey yo, check this out. You cannot make this stuff up. Virginia rapper Bugsy the Don went to the Capitol on January 6th, on the day when the riots took place, and he decided it would be a good idea to participate in the riots by storming the Capitol. And he also thought it would be a good idea to climb up on top of a SWAT car and smoke a spliff. And while he was smoking a spliff, he had one of his boys take a picture of him so he could use it for his album cover. Well, the feds just so happened to see the album cover, and they charged Bugsy with entering and remaining in a restricted building or grounds, disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building or grounds, parading, demonstrating, or picketing in a Capitol building, and disorderly conduct in a Capitol building. Now, because the feds had indisputable photo evidence, Bugsy pled guilty to 4 counts. And because he was already on probation, the DOJ wanted to give Bugsy 21 months in prison. However, the judge kind of felt sorry for Bugsy, maybe because he realized Bugsy wasn't the brightest bulb in the batch, so he only gave Bugsy 5 months in federal prison. Hey yo, can somebody please tell me what's up with Bugsy? How dumb can you get? Listen, all week we've been talking about people snitching, but what are you gonna do about people like this guy and T.I. who basically snitch on themselves? Hey yo, on to the next story. As you know, over the past week, we've heard a lot of people give their opinions about what was going on with the YSL, Gunna, and Young Thug court cases, and now Lil Durk has entered into the arena to add his 2 cents about Young Thug's court case and his potential long-term incarceration. Lil Durk says that he believes Young Thug is being targeted in the YSL RICO case and took to Instagram to call for Thugger's freedom. Lil Durk asked his followers to drop a green heart emoji into his comment section to show their support for Jeffrey, aka Young Thug. Lil Durk wrote, quote, "Drop a heart if y'all want Thug home and not to be blamed or left to the wolves. Hashtag free Jeff," end quote. Then he dropped a quick promo for his next LP by writing album mode in all caps. In response to Lil Durk's social media activism and his request, many artists like Fabulous, Jadakiss, Gilly the Kid, Waka Flocka Flame, London on the Track, and more flooded Durk's comments with green hearts, lending their approval and showing Young Thug some love. It was beautiful. His comment section lit up like it was Christmas. But I gotta tell you, if I'm ever in trouble, right, and you gotta get me out of jail, and you go online and you are gonna protest for me online by posting some stuff on social media, do me a favor, just write the comment about me. Like write something like hashtag free sauce. Period. You can leave off the album promo. You know what I'm saying? You don't gotta be like hashtag free sauce album mode. That's like Martin Luther King going to get Rosa Parks out of jail and then being like, listen, we want you to free Rosa, but don't forget to buy my merch at the next church. Listen, sometimes things don't necessarily go hand in hand. They don't mix, so you don't have to put those two things together. Hey, yo, on to the next story. Yesterday, we reported that Lil Wayne's chef is suing him for $500,000 because she said that he delayed her getting to her son after her son had a traumatic head injury, and he also fired her because she needed to tend to the family emergency. Well, now a spokesperson for Lil Wayne has come out and said that is not the reason why she was fired at all. She was fired for breach of privacy. So they're basically alleging that she put out some information that she wasn't supposed to. She violated the do not talk about Wayne clause. Let me tell you something. If Lil Wayne is smart, what he should do is he should go get those same attorneys that Tory Lanez is using right now, right? So that when they go to court, they can use the defense that Lil Wayne is too short to have fired that chef. Yo, thanks for tuning in to Celeb Sauce, your source for celebrity news. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Peace.